What's happening, everybody? Happy Friday, and welcome to Sleep Stream Stash, a show with everything you need to get ready for the week ahead in fantasy football. My name is Memphis. You can follow me on Twitter X at DWZ Memphis. And with me, both co-hosts this week, coming out of the Florida area, back in his home studio with the art in the background. It is none other than the fantasy Picasso himself, Mr. Jonny Tuma. Jonny, what's going on, man?
Muted?
Yeah, I think he's muted. Yeah, he's muted. I can see the little Ghostbuster thing on his mic.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. We got you now. I will totally edit that out of the audio podcast, but see, but that's okay. You know, the Rams will tell you, you have the fumbles early, not late. Jonny, man, what is going on? You're back in the home studio. You got the art in the background. You are the fantasy Picasso. How's everything going for you?
Still muted, right?
I'm not hearing him. Jonny is having mic issues. Jonny, you are not coming through on the audio. And so I'm going to throw it to our other co-host out of the greater Washington State area. You can hear his lovely voice, Mr. Evan Ringler at Evan Ringler FF. Evan, what's going on, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I wish we could talk to our co-host Jonny here, but I'm just dreading that 49ers win last night. That really hurt. I hate the 49ers with all my being, and somehow, without any of their good players, they still pull out a win just out of their ass. How does that happen?
I think Kyle Shanahan has like a voodoo doll of Sean McVay. He has like special magic. We've all seen the science fiction shows, the magic shows where, you know, like the teacher has all the power over the student, and that's what it feels like with Kyle Shanahan. I think you're going to be okay. They've got one quarterback in Brock Purdy who might be 50%. And did you think Mac Jones was going to die last night? He had like vomit. Like I was thinking Eminem. He's, vomit on my sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. I mean, but to his credit, like we all make fun of Mac Jones. He's not like a super athlete. He's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Drake May, but that dude's tougher than an old shoe, man. That guy was just out there getting it. And that laughter that you heard, that is in fact Jonny Tuma. He's back, fully mic'd up. Jonny, what were your thoughts on last night's game, and how's it feel to be back in the home studio?
Good. Well, it's the home studio part is the jury's still out, as you can tell. I'm having a little bit of issues, but it's good to be back with the boys, man. I love this show. I love the first few weeks we put together. The game last night was a lot of fun, except for the fact that I was up against Puka Nacua and Christian McCaffrey in my biggest league. And, both guys just decided to go absolutely nuclear. I had Davante Adams in that matchup. Would have loved to have seen a little more from him, but overall, still such a fun offense to watch. God, do I love watching Matthew Stafford play football. Like I was explaining, that meme of the guy like explaining how baseball works to his girlfriend at the game he's got the glasses on and he's like mansplaining her. That was like me with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm like telling my wife, like, you got to watch Matthew Stafford when he drops back, the way he looks around, surveys the whole field. And I think he's the best in the game at like not giving away where he's going with his eyes until the last second. You kind of see where his head goes at the last second and he swings it. And it's just such an awesome player, man. I don't think we give Matthew Stafford enough flowers as one of the best quarterbacks in our generation.
I think of that generation because you can't put Aaron Rodgers in with the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger. It would have to be more of that Aaron Rodgers generation of quarterbacks. You can maybe throw Cam Newton in there, some other guys. Andrew Luck would have been there had he had a longer career. I think of those guys, now I know Rodgers has the MVP. If we were to go back in time, knowing what we know now, and you could pick between prime Aaron Rodgers and prime healthy Matt Stafford, I'm not so sure I hate you if you take Matt Stafford. That dude, there is no one I enjoy watching throw a football more than Matt Stafford. You know, as someone who like loves baseball, there's something special when like you see the baseball or the football come off of an elite thrower's hand, whether that's a pitcher or a guy spinning a football. And I don't think we've seen anyone, maybe since Brett Favre, that spins it like Matthew Stafford. I love watching that dude play football. But Evan, how you feeling about Sammy Darnold up there? That guy, he has the most wins in the NFL since last year. All right. He has more, it's either more or the same number of comeback victories since the start of 2024 as Patrick Mahomes. He is 17-5 in his last 22 games, 22 games, including the playoffs last year. You got to be feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing incredible right now, and let the record show that I was always all the way in. I never had any doubts that this was going to fail. Never once talked about how Sam Darnold struggles under pressure and the Seahawks offensive line is really bad. So don't say that I said those things. But yeah, Darnold's playing incredible.
If someone can find a video of you saying those things, it's a deep fake.
It's
Exactly.
AI. It's AI generated. It's not real. But yeah, I said this on the Dynasty Warzone, and I want to get Johnny's take on this from a Dynasty perspective. With the way Sam's played the last year and a half, and I've kind of lumped Daniel Jones into this, he is a safe Dynasty asset for the next 2 to 4 years. You know, someone's going to give him a chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones does not, based on what he's done this last month in San Francisco, that Mac Jones is worth a stash. When Brock Purdy comes back and Mac Jones goes back to the bench, you start doing dynasty trades in a Superflex league, look to get Mac Jones tossed in on the back end of a deal and just let it sit there on the back end of your dynasty roster. And then all of a sudden, like Sam Darnold did in 2024, or, you know, Daniel Jones did this year with the Colts, all of a sudden Mac Jones signs with a good offense and a good offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden you've got a QB 2-3 in your dynasty league. So, Johnny, what do you think about Sam going forward from a dynasty perspective, and then anything on Mac Jones?
Yeah, I think everything you just said there is so spot on. When you see these first-round quarterbacks kind of sputter out on the wrong team, and then they go on to have decent renaissances, right? Like Marcus Mariota has been somewhat interesting, right? The past few weeks, even Carson Wentz, you're like, okay, I see why he was at one point that second overall pick. Like these are cerebral guys, right? And so Mac Jones, I totally agree. Under the right offense, he could have a renaissance. I think Dan Orlovsky said something around like he would do as well as Brock Purdy, like said that when he was still a Patriot, people were rolling their eyes. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great point that you make that he's a great stash for, you know, potentially getting that kind of trial, you know, going to a team that needs a quarterback, a kind of a bridge quarterback, right? Maybe in 2026. And there's a lesson here that I want to implore for fantasy managers that I suffered. So like I picked up Daniel Jones at the beginning of the season in a 1 QB league. I'm like, hey, I'm going to, you know, just have him on my bench. And then I got Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback. And then I also have, you know, Smith in this dynasty league. So I'm like, I don't need Daniel Jones, right? So I sent out an offer like Daniel Jones and some other small piece for like Dante Thornton Jr. And the lesson that I'm trying to tell y'all is look back on the trades you send and withdraw them at a certain point, because this guy could not accept the trade quick enough after week 3. Now I'm sitting with Dante Thornton Jr. and he's got a top 10 quarterback. And again, I still don't need Daniel Jones. It's not the end of the world, but it was like, oh man, like that trade looked really good for me in week 1 when all the hype was around Dante Thornton Jr., but through 4 weeks, he's done nothing. And Daniel Jones is a consensus top 12 guy, right? So dynasty managers, send out offers, but keep a pulse on what you sent out there and withdraw those offers, modify those offers if they swing in the other team's favor. It's something I'm sending out so many offers, sometimes I just forget, you know?
And we bring up Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. Let's not forget the recent king of the career renaissance in Baker Mayfield. You know, went from the Panthers, went to the Rams, and now all of a sudden he was last year's fantasy QB5, currently this year's fantasy QB7. This is the kind of guy that you stash. And, you know, Anthony Richardson's another guy. Someone's going to look at him. We've all done this with like crazy hot women, and we're like, it didn't work out for them, but it could work out for us. And if you're looking for something to work out for you, and maybe your dynasty, your seasonal team, injuries have got you, you're already in the crapper, but you're wanting to play competitive fantasy football of some style, check out Flex 6.
I know your sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops, because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate against 9 other competitors. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun, and as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Now, I cannot promise this every week, but do you guys know what an overlay is in a tournament, whether that be a DFS, poker? For you guys that don't, overlay means that there's a guaranteed prize pool and a guaranteed amount of money that the players will receive. And last week, Flex 6 did not fill, so there was an overlay. And if you gamble, play DFS, stuff like that, you want odds on your money. That's a great thing. So go to your app store, whether that's Google Play, Apple App Store, whatever, download Fast Draft. You sign up, you use promo code. I'll give you a promo code because we don't have one yet for our show, but it's Warzone. WARZONE, Warzone, all caps. And what that'll do is that'll give you a dollar for dollar deposit match up to $50. You deposit 50, you get 50, and you got enough for 10, or you got enough for 10 quick 6. I think you got enough for 20 flex frenzy. Get in there, get in the game. I promise you it's a good time. All right, guys, let's get into
Memphis. Can I do a little more plug on that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, plug away.
So, 2 things. Right now we're doing Fast Draft Fridays, and if you max enter both the Flex 6 Frenzy and the Quick 6 Super Slam, you will get $100 in credits. So enter those tournaments, get $100. A lot of fun. Last thing I'll say is real people winning real money. Humble brag. Your boy took down the Quick 6 Frenzy in week 4, $1,000 in my bank account. It's real. It's fun. And you're getting good advice from guys like us who are taking down these contests. So let's go, boys.
I got one thing on Fast Draft as well. In the Flex 6 Frenzy this week, almost every draft has had Bucky Irving, Trey Benson, Chuba Hubbard, and even some Tyreek Hill getting drafted still. If you just draft 6 healthy players, you basically have overlay. You basically have a positive expected value just by drafting 6 healthy players.
And he almost made the show sheet. We're going into sleepers, but I didn't think that the name Rachaad White was a sleeper. But I have Rachaad White as a player that I'm putting in my Fast Draft lineups this weekend because Seattle has been an absolute son of a bitch against the rush. They are the worst rushing matchup for running backs in the league. They've given up 286 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns. Okay? But they have given up 266 passing yards to the running back position, and they're tied for the most receptions to the running back at the position. And Rachaad White, pretty good pass catcher. And this could be a bit of a shootout between the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. So Rachaad White's the kind of guy that, to Evan's point, if people are plugging in Bucky Irving and hurt players, then all you have to do is plug in not hurt players, and you have a much better chance of doing good. I said I didn't want to make I didn't want to make Rachaad my sleeper. I didn't think that would be fair, but Jonny, you have sleeper number 1 this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, boy, no pressure. My sleeper of the week last week was Woody Marks, so you have to follow that up, right?
Do that again. Come on, pal.
Well, let's see if we can make it happen twice for you guys. So it's actually a similar kind of analysis here. This week for me, it's Brashard Smith. So similar with Woody Marks, I think it's all about timing these rookies and when they're going to see that uptick that means solid results in fantasy football. So like Woody Marks, Brashard Smith's been seeing his workload double roughly each week. 0 opportunities in week 1, 2 opportunities in week 2, 3 in week 4, 8 opportunities last week. This is a really explosive guy who I expect to get 10 plus opportunities this week, which means I am in. The coach speak mirrors this. Andy Reid said him and Matt Nagy are trying to get Brashard Smith more involved, and he's handling it really well. Pacheco and Hunt, both under 4 yards per carry on the season. They really need to look at other options there. Again, this is a guy with 4.3 speed, pass catching background. He was a wide receiver in college for those of you that don't know. And I think, just watch the tape. There was an awesome catch last week. He got by several defenders, turned nothing into a 15-yard play. Those are the types of plays that warrant more usage from your coaches. He is only projected at 2.5 points on Sleeper, but I am firing him up in a deep league in week 5, even against a stingy Jags D. That's going to be a Monday night game. So if you want a little fun in your lineup on a Monday night, a little extra sweat, upside play, Brashard Smith is my sleeper of the week.
Yeah, and humble brag, Jerry, my co-host on the Dynasty Warzone, reminded me that Woody Marks across 25 Dynasty leagues is my most rostered running back. I've got like a 30 some odd percentage exposure to Woody Marks. So go me. Not only do I co-sign on the Brashard Smith take, but what did Woody Marks bring to the offense in Houston that had been very stagnant till last week? He brought a spark. He brought a spark to the running game. Now, you got to take into account that it was the Tennessee Titans, and they're not very good. But Brashard Smith could bring a spark that we've not seen from Hunt, who's in year 9. We've not seen from Pacheco, who's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. This is a great call, and I'm just going to throw Jaden Blue in there because the Cowboys could be trying to do the same thing. Javonte Williams has been great. Miles Sanders has been washed. So this is the kind of guy that if you have an injury spot that that you drop somebody who was hurt and Brashard Smith isn't available, consider Jaden Blue as well. Ringler, what do you think about Brashard Smith?
Those are both great calls, including Jaden Blue. Both of them are also great stashes in general. So yeah, just get those guys on your roster. Exciting rookie running backs in running back rooms that aren't all that inspiring. Obviously, the Chiefs need to change something with their running game. They have, Kareem Hunt and Pacheco. They can get the yards blocked for them, but they can't do an ounce more than that. They need a little bit of juice, especially in the pass catching game. And Brashard Smith is going to see a bigger role going forward.
Yeah, and I posted this today on my X. Again, it's at DWZ Memphis. These rookies don't always get off to a fast start, even the good ones. I posted the first 4 games of RJ Harvey's career, and I posted the first 4 games of Alvin Kamara's career. It's not always just, rocket ship right from day one. And I did that to draw the comparison because they both were coached as rookies by Sean Payton. But just to say that rookies don't just come in and take veteran jobs week 1 in the NFL. It takes a little bit longer, but when they get going, case of Woody Marks, we're looking at Brashard Smith, Jaden, I thought it was Jaden Blue. These are the kind of guys that you stash them and you get them on the back end of your roster. And if your tight end room is gross, I have your other sleeper. I'm going Theo Johnson. First of all, Theo, great name. If you've listened to Player Profiler for any length of time, you remember our boy Theo Grimminger. Shout out Theo, miss you, buddy. He got his first touchdown of the season last week with Jackson Dart, and he had 5 targets, which in and of itself is not mind blowing. It tied a season high, but he got 5 targets and a win. And the injury to Malik Neighbors, it frees up 7 targets a game. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that you could be looking at a tight end who's in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 targets a game the rest of the season. And the matchup this week's okay, but I think it'll be a bit of a shootout. The Saints are middle of the pack against the tight end. And like I said, I expect this to be a sneaky shootout. And at 6'6", 260 pounds, remember Theo Johnson kept Tyler Warren on the bench for a year at Penn State. And if you go to Player Profiler, I love Player Profiler. You guys should love Player Profiler. And you look at his athleticism, Theo Johnson was the #1 most athletic tight end in the 2024 rookie tight end class. And the kid's a stud. I like when teams do this. It's a real bummer that Malik Neighbors got hurt. I would have loved to have seen 12, 13 games of Jackson Dart, Cam Scatabo, Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson. Because for the Giants and, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll may not be there in 12 months, but it gives those guys a vision of what the future could be with their young skill position guys. But I think Theo Johnson's going to be a great little sleeper. We have bye weeks coming up, someone to keep an eye on. And I'll kick it back to Evan because he's a bit of a tight end fan like me. We're team AJ Barner. But Evan,
sir.
what are your thoughts on my man Theo Johnson?
I love it, man. He is going to be on the field running a lot of routes, and there are targets to be had. I wouldn't consider. I guess you could say that Wan'Dale Robinson earns targets to a degree. Darius Slayton certainly does not. And other than that, it's really just Theo Johnson and Cam Scatabo. So he's going to see a lot of routes and a lot of targets, and he's very athletic. Keep it simple. Saints defense is not good. Should be a lot of points. Like it.
All right, Johnny, anything on my man Theo? Not Grimminger. I know you love Grimminger.
No, I think it's an interesting call just because like I kind of want to see what this offense looks like with Dart. I want to see him throw more than 115 yards like he did last week, right? And kind of who ends up being his comfort food, his flavor of choice in this offense. So I think it's a bit like bold for you to kind of say, hey, it's got like take the shot on this guy, right? But again, this should be a game where I have Jackson Dart. I'm firing him up with all the most confidence in the world. And those passes have to go somewhere. And to your point, like Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, not an extremely exciting wide receiver room. So we'll see what happens this week. I don't know. I'm also like tight end is such a shitty thing. If you're like outside the top three guys, you're kind of just taking a stab in the dark. Like I saw someone comment, Tommy Tremble is my sleeper tight end of the week. I don't hate that, right? Like it just kind of depends on your flavor and where you see the games going. But I don't hate the call at all.
I debated between Tommy Tremble and Jatavian Sanders. I'm like, they both have the exact same amount of targets. I can't pick one.
Well, Sanders, I think, is going to be out this week, right?
He's got a high ankle.
That makes it interesting because you're like,
okay, then Tremble for sure.
Funnel to Tremble. So, yeah, just tight end, man. It's a gross landscape right now. So, yeah, any of these guys with a pulse running routes deserve a look.
All right. And by the way, this has no fantasy point ramifications, but Jackson Dart was on some talk show, and they asked him who his celebrity crush was before that game with the Chargers. And he looked dead in the camera and he said Madison Beers, which is Justin Herbert's girlfriend.
That's tough.
That dude is cold-blooded. I loved it. Again, if you're in a points per aura, a points per swag league, Jackson Dart 101. All right.
I'm all in.
I just convinced everybody to get with Jackson Dart. All right. Evan, you got a streamer for us. You got like a fantasy, a DFS guy. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Jalen Tolbert this week. $3,600 on DK, which is extremely cheap. You'll see a lot of players that aren't even active on rosters that are more than that. The Jets versus Cowboys should be, in my opinion, the best game environment of the week for fantasy football. Both defenses are bottom 5 in EPA per play. Both offenses should be able to move the ball. We've seen them move the ball with success throughout this season so far. The Cowboys specifically, just the perfect fantasy football team as they choose not to field a defense at all. And I absolutely love it. I think everyone should do that. They also have a very good quarterback. Dak is playing out of his mind this year, and they throw the ball a ton. Number 1 in pass attempts. In 2 games without CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert is averaging 6 targets per game, had over 100 air yards last week, and now it looks like Javonte Turpin is likely to miss this game. So I wouldn't be shocked if those 6 targets go up to 8 targets this week.
I want to get Johnny's take on Jalen Tolbert. I think he and I are just chasing Dak and the Cowboys. I think there's targets to be had, and I think we've got Evan on board, Johnny.
Yeah, I love it, man. He was, if you guys remember, I was very close to putting him as my stash of the week last week. I kind of socialized that. I ended up going with Turpin, but now no Turpin. It's just next man up, right? Like to your point, you know who's a real fun guy to just throw out the name of is Ryan Flournoy as well, right? Really liked
shout
his
out Jason Allwine.
Yeah, shout out Jason Allwine, number 1 Ryan Flournoy fan, right? And so it'll almost be like that San Francisco game last night where guys you've never heard of, well, we've all heard of Kendrick Bourne, but like Jalen Tolbert puts together an 8-reception game and 100+ yards. Like, it's not going to be the most surprising thing. There still has to be a pass game. So I love the call.
And I'm going to say, I'm going to co-sign just based on the price. For a player to be worth their salary in DFS, they've got to basically 3x their cost. So we're talking, 11 points? That's 5 for 60. And God forbid he gets behind and maybe scores a touchdown. And I think this will be one of the higher scoring games of the weekend. I think this will be a defense is optional type of game. And I think Dallas has given up the most points in the entire league right now. Justin Fields, like, if you read the box score last week, he played terrible, like if you watched with your eyes, but if you just read the box score, you know he can fill it up, and Dak can too. I love this call, but Jonny, you have a call, and I know why you did it, and I'm sad. And actually, Jonny has two, but give us your main guy and then give us your spare guy.
Yeah, well, so I'll just be brief on the spare guy. It was Michael Carter. Interesting, right? Cheap, 4,000 or 4K on DraftKings. Expect him to be the leader in that backfield. In general, would try and stay away from that backfield, though. I think there's kind of mixed reports on all three guys are going to be involved. So you might see some Bam Knight in there, as well as DeMarcado and Michael Carter. But I think Michael Carter gets the lion's share of that work. But the guy I'm way more excited about, $300 more, $4,300 on DraftKings, is Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle has juice, like, undebatably. This is a 1,300 scrimmage yards guy last year. It's incredibly cheap, right? A $4,300 with no Chuba Hubbard against a porous Miami D that's 25th against running backs and fantasy points. I would expect this cost to rise once Hubbard is officially ruled out, but he's not expected to play after aggravating a calf issue last week. And I want to double down here and talk about how when the first guy goes down in a kind of backfield where there's multiple backs, that means consolidated work that's going to fall mainly on that backup running back. We're going to see a little Trevor Etienne sprinkled in, but sometimes those injuries to that lead back means more fantasy points for that one remaining back. So think about Kenneth Gainwell putting up 30 points last week in Ireland with no Jalen Warren. This Rico Dowdle is an absolute blessing for managers who have been decimated by week 5 buys or injuries. So yeah, I'm streaming him on draft or in DFS, but I would also go scoop him now in any redraft leagues you can if he's still available. This could be a multi-week thing with Hubbard. And then just to kind of tie a bow on this, I just built a simple lineup, put in Dowdle as one of my running backs, Tolbert as one of my wide receivers, picked the most expensive tight end, Trey McBride, and the most expensive defense. That gives you a remaining salary of $6,500 per player still. So if you're taking both Evans and I shots on those kind of cheaper guys, you can go get the premium guys with the rest of your lineup.
And the reason why it makes me sad is I've always been a big Chuba Hubbard fan, and he's been playing well the last, the back half of last year and this year, but, and injuries do happen. Evan, anything on Carter or Dowdle for you?
On Carter, I would say expect him to have the lion's share of the rushing work, but DeMarcado should have almost all of the passing game work. So, both of them are fine flex plays in deep leagues, but not particularly inspiring. On Dowdle, I would push back on one little thing. I don't think Rico Dowdle has juice. But he's good enough.
I love that. You're like, I'm just going to push back on the fact that he's good.
Yeah. I think he's a great play in fantasy this week. I just don't think he has any juice.
Dude, Javonte Williams, I don't think he necessarily has juice, right? Or even but it's something is happening there,
Definitely.
So Evan just went full Star-Lord from Avengers Endgame. I like your call, except it sucks. So maybe if you let me make the call, it'll be really, really good. All right, let's do the stashes real quick so we can get to the chat for some questions. I have stash number 1, and this is just that next man up philosophy. This is more of a dynasty stash, a deeper cut. Although he was rostered pretty much across every dynasty league that I'm in, it's Isaiah Davis with the New York Jets. And the reason why, he's one injury away, and we've seen a lot of injuries, from being the guy. He's listed as the RB2 per player profiler and our lads. Braylon Allen going to be out at least the next 4 weeks. Could be up to 6 because he's got the knee injury, kind of similar to to what we've seen with Trey Benson. Another reason why I like him, if you can get him cheap, is that he's in year 2. So 99.9% of the time of your taxi squads, you can throw him on there. It's a short-term little hedge, and if he gets any run, think of Isaac Garindo last year. You know, he's a guy. I saw Isaac Garindo in Dynasty leagues last year around the fantasy and Dynasty playoffs, getting traded for a third and in some cases a contender second to never be heard from again. So if we were to be in a situation where Isaiah Davis was able to do that, you grab him, you hold him, maybe he turns into something. He's not going to be a long-term thing. Not a great athlete, but a big dude, a bruiser, kind of a bigger version of Cam Scatterbo, to be very honest. He's a 6 foot tall, 220-pound guy. He runs a 4.5, but he's probably going to hit you like a locomotive. So just a guy that I thought was, yeah, you know, he does. He's had a few pass catches as the pros, and he was in the upper third of running backs in last year's rookie class. So not a bad call. And again, he's one play away from being relevant. I'm going to go to Jonny because he's a Dynasty guy. Not that Evan's not, but Jonny hosts the Dynasty Deep Dive. So what are your thoughts on Davis? What'd you like about him coming out? Not like anything?
No, I love this call, man. He's a guy I've been actively, people have dropped him. Like people who were stashing him have dropped him, right? Because he was third in the pecking order. That MCL injury from Braylon Allen looks pretty significant, right? It's IR. It could be more than 4 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks reported today.
Is that what they've said? Yeah. I mean, it looked significant when you watched it. It's a pretty ugly looking injury where I was curious if he tore his ACL and MCL, but it sounds like wasn't quite that bad, but it looked pretty significant. You have to stash this guy. This is a team that likes to run the football. You've got kind of that Konami code quarterback who opens up the rushing lanes with Justin Fields, right? And Breece Hall, you're a twisted ankle away from Breece Hall being out and having a guy who is going to see a lion's share of the work in that offense. So just an absolute, you're playing chess while your league mates are playing checkers. Go grab Isaiah Davis for free right now. Anything happens to Breece Hall, God forbid, you can, to your point, trade him for a premium at that point or start him. He's going to be startable easily if Breece Hall's out. And
Breece Hall's a pending free agent, and they could get a nice haul from a contender at the actual NFL trade deadline because the Jets are clearly not going anywhere. And do you want to pay a second contract to a running back, or would you like to get like a nice third round NFL pick, maybe even an actual NFL team second? That's what they paid for him. I wouldn't be surprised if a contender like Bucky Irving, I'm just making this scenario up, but like Bucky Irving's injury is worse than we thought, and he's going to be out longer than we thought. And Tampa Bay's like, dude, let's go get Breece Hall. If that happens, Isaiah Davis gets to play this year. But Evan, you have a Dynasty stash for us as well.
Yeah, first off, I want to push back on me not being a Dynasty guy. I don't know where this is coming from. I came from Dynasty. I'm not in a ton of Dynasty leagues, but the ones I am in are the most sicko leagues you can imagine. So just wanted to throw that out there. My guy that I'm stashing, not just in Dynasty, but in some deeper redraft leagues as well, is Emanuel Wilson of the Packers. He's the running back 2 behind Josh Jacobs right now. The Packers are a very run-heavy team that likes to funnel their offense through Josh Jacobs, who has been banged up throughout the season, although, he's still playing, but banged up and, missing drives, stuff like that. If Jacobs was to go down, Wilson would step into a very valuable fantasy role. Over the past 2 weeks, Wilson has taken over that running back 2 role from Chris Brooks with 7 carries and 3 targets just last week. I think that unlike Rico Dowdle, Emanuel Wilson also has real juice. He's ranking 10th in true yards per carry and 21st in juke rate last season. In my opinion, he's a top 15 handcuff running back, but is not treated anywhere near that in most fantasy leagues.
Well, Mr. Dynasty guy there, I like this call because this guy is built like a wrecking ball with feet. He's 5'11" and 226 pounds. This is and you mentioned some of his other attributes. I like this call a lot. I am literally, as we're doing this, I'm looking at waivers, or not waivers, I'm looking at free agents in my dynasty leagues to see if he's out there. I'm going to add him. He was from the class of 2023 on Player Profiler, he was the 5th most athletic running back of that class. Sneaky athletic for that, a man that big. Jonny, anything on Emanuel Wilson before we get into some of these listener YouTube questions?
I love this call. Something that's been kind of under the radar was that final drive of the game for the Packers in that overtime game versus the Cowboys. A lot of us were probably like falling asleep at that point. But if you were watching, Josh Jacobs had a great first 4 quarters, didn't play in the overtime period. I think this has not been reported on. This is just a Jonny gut thing. He was dinged up. Something was up because it was like, and I know because I was in that quick 6 tournament, and I was like a Josh Jacobs catch or long run away from not winning first place. So I was watching very intently, like they're going to sub this guy in, and it was like an 8 or 9. It was a several play drive that Emanuel Wilson was the only back out there for the end of the game. Now they got a bye week. I'm sure, 90% sure that by week 6, Josh Jacobs will be back. He won't be on the injury report, but there's that chance that something happened at the end of that game that they didn't really have to report on this week because of the bye week. Maybe he's limited going into week 6. Maybe he's a surprise inactive going into week 6. Go get Emanuel Wilson now. He was clearly the handcuff. And again, I think that's something that nobody's talking about, was that Josh Jacobs wasn't even on the field at the very end of the game when they needed to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jonny gave 2 great points. One, Green Bay does not have to provide an injury report this week because they are on the bye. And there is no better time, even in Dynasty, to go get a handcuff than when a team's on the bye week. It's just not on the radar. The big, when I say big, I mean like Matthew Berry, big fantasy footballers, big. It's just not on the radar yet. But this is why you listen to this show. You get ahead so you can get ahead. And you keep hearing me talk about, all these athleticism scores, all these dynasty rankings. You may say, hey, where can I get those? And that's right here with Player Profiler, Dynasty Deluxe.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync, where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes picked values out to like 2028. All of that, plus the rookie guide, $25 value, is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
It is totally worth it. And in season, not being hyperbolic, I'm probably in there every single day and multiple times as we get closer to game day. And when I'm doing my dynasty content and research and stuff, especially once we're post NFL Combine, there is nothing more fun than having a Player Profiler subscription at that time. It is the best. Let's get into some questions. I'm going to go to a Facebook question because we got a Facebook thumbs up on the live stream. So damn it, Bill, I'm going to assume that was you. We got Bill Burkett. And Bill said McConkey or Addison in the PPR flex. I will start with Evan. Evan, what are your thoughts? McConkey or Addison?
This is still Lad pretty easily for me. It's the much better passing offense, and Lad is still getting targets, even if he's not producing for fantasy. Jordan Addison, the only way he gets there is a big play. I am expecting the Vikings offense to be absolutely horrible this week. Absolutely horrible. All 3 of their interior offensive linemen are out, and they're going up against Myles Garrett and Mason Graham.
And I'll throw it to John. Anything, and we know as a Colts fan and as a guy who was, a fan of Carson Wentz in the prime of his career, Carson Wentz is fine. Carson Wentz under pressure,
horrible,
rough action. Jonny, anything here?
No, yeah, it's Lad McConkey pretty easily. You can't get too disgruntled by the slow start. I think we're a touchdown or two from that whole wide receiver room looking a little different, where like Ladd's clearly third on the pecking order. Touchdowns are not sticky, right? They're not very predictive. And so who's to say that, if anything, the regression is in favor of Ladd McConkey scoring a touchdown this week, right? Everybody's gotten in on the action. Keenan Allen's been catching touchdowns. Quentin Johnston's been catching touchdowns. Why not Ladd McConkey this week? It's pretty easy McConkey over Addison for me in this one.
I'm going to agree, and I don't think there might not be a bigger dynasty buy for me right now than Ladd McConkey. People are so freaked out in dynasty leagues right now as it relates to Ladd McConkey, and I get Keenan Allen's playing well, especially given his age. But man, he can't keep getting away with this. I mean, he's only back because of injuries, and I don't know. I think Ladd McConkey's a steal going into year 3 next year.
Absolutely.
An absolute steal. Jelly of the month. Jelly was here last week. Lost 3 wide receivers with injuries / bye. Needs a wide receiver 3. We have Ayomanor, Malik Washington, or Josh Downs. I will start this time with Jonny.
I got to go Ayomanor here. Ridley's banged up. He wasn't playing his full snap share last week. I think he got in a limited practice today, but hadn't practiced much of the week. I'm going into this week like Ayomanor is their number 1 wide receiver. That's how I'm treating it. It's an Arizona defense that's not that inspiring against the pass. I think they're like 20th, top 15 to 20th, bottom, right in that lower half of the league. I like what I've seen from Cam Ward. I think he's still got to put it all together, but the guy he's going to do it with is probably going to be Ayomanor. So going with him over Malik Washington and Josh Downs. I like Malik Washington, but I want to see him kind of step into some sort of featured role within that Dolphins offense before I feel really comfortable starting him.
Evan?
I'm cool with Ayomanor, but I am going with Malik Washington. I think he has more upside here, like way more upside. He has already been getting about 2 carries per game from the wide receiver position, and those often have extremely high yards per carry and touchdown rates. Now with Tyreek Hill out, I'm expecting Malik Washington to be featured much more than Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who is just a guy. He's not really good at anything. Malik Washington is explosive, and I think they're going to get the ball in his hands.
I hope so, man.
I'm going to take the cheap way out and say anybody but Josh Downs. And that as a Colts
that hurts
fan,
my soul.
It does because I'm a Colts fan. I've been a Josh Downs guy. I just don't see it from the Ayomanor standpoint. It's like, if you're the Titans, don't you want to see what he has? Because if he's not the wide receiver 1 over the next 10 to 12 weeks, don't you want to know that? Because if he is, great. You don't need to spend a high draft pick this coming year or big free agent dollars getting him a wide receiver 1, because Cam Ward needs a wide receiver 1. Let Ayomanor show that he can or cannot do this job. And with Malik Washington, I said this on the Dynasty Warzone, and I believe this firmly. It's not a Darren Waller take. It's just a function take. I see the big athletic tight end in that Mike McDaniel offense, and all of a sudden everything seems to work better. And it could have been the Jets' shitty defense. That's a fair counterpoint. But I saw the Miami offense last year with Jonny Smith. Jonny Smith went absolutely bananas, had a great season, and so did just about everybody else around him except Tyreek Hill. And then all of a sudden, the Miami offense looks very stagnant, doesn't look very good. We add in the big athletic tight end. Voila, Tyreek Hill was having his best game of the season. Etienne was having a great game. I'm not saying it's Waller or Smith or whoever, but I think that offense needs that position. So that 100% could be part of the skeleton key that allows Malik Washington to get loose. So I like that quite a bit. Senior Football, a player profiler original. This dude is a big fan. He's in the Dynasty Warzone chat. Let's take care of seniors. Question. This is easy. Blake Corum already played, and if you're talking, no matter what the format,
yep,
no matter what the format, it is Brashard Smith over Blake Corum. Done.
He's probably asking rest of season or Dynasty.
I wouldn't let Blake Corum. we got to pick on the Podfather a little bit, right? Because we love him, it's like when they used to do it on Jerry Springer show. It's that, I love you, right? Then you're going to say something really hurtful afterwards, like I cheated on you or something. It's like, we love you, right? But this was like Blake Corum and just so many guys is like, people just want Kyron Williams to bust. They want him not to be a thing. They want him to just like fall apart, disintegrate, do the Homer Simpson, pulls back into the shrubs. He's not going anywhere. Just like James Cook's not going anywhere. Blake Corum's not going to be a thing. Kyron Williams is the thing. They just re-signed him. And to Johnny's point at the beginning of the show, you're talking about Isaiah Pacheco, who only runs like full speed, whether that's into the back of his lineman, the hole, the defender. He just runs straight forward, crashes, big bang, boom. Blake Corum's not any good. Why wouldn't you want Brashard Smith? It's pretty easy for me, Evan.
I do want Brashard Smith over Blake Corum, but Blake Corum is still one of the best handcuffs in the NFL. I mean, if Kyron Williams goes down, Blake Corum is immediately a top 20 running back and maybe top 15. So
what about that Jaquez Hunter-Smith?
He hasn't gotten a single snap this season.
Oh, so he's on the Blake Corum career arc. He didn't get hardly any snaps as a rookie either.
Right. And if Kyron Williams goes down next week, I guarantee you that Blake Corum steps into a workhorse role in the Rams offense.
All right, I'm going to hit Jonny with this one right here because I'm going to hit him right in the feels because he's talked about a lot of these guys today. Goatman wants to know Michael Carter, Darius Slayton, Rico Dowdle, or Tony Pollard, PPR flex. Yep, and you know what? I'm not even going to make the gross sound. Brother, we're all there, Goatman. We are all there. But Jonny, I'm going to give you this one first because you've talked about two of these guys already.
It's not gross. Like it is what it is. It's gross, but it's not gross. But I've got to go. Easy one for me is Rico Dowdle here. Again, just for every reason I highlighted. You're talking about a guy who should see bell cow usage this week. Check. Darius Slayton is probably like super interesting to me because in the 2 games without Malik Neighbors last year, Darius Slayton averaged 11 targets per game and had like 2 really solid fantasy football outings in both of those games. I hate to lean away from Tony Pollard. He's in a great matchup this week, but again, we just haven't seen anything from him that's inspiring. So if you're looking for like a little upside, you're tired of starting Tony Pollard and seeing 8 to 10 points there, Darius Slayton's got Jackson Dart throwing him the football now. Rico Dowdle's a great running back in place of Tony Pollard. Those would probably be my 2 guys, but it hurts me because Tony Pollard was one of my most rostered guys in best ball this offseason. I was drafting him because I figured he was going to do what I was expecting, have a lot of the usage, right? But that usage has not turned into fantasy points. And so I think at a certain point, you just can't hang on to what you invested in these guys. And yeah, you might have picked up Slayton off of waivers and spend a mid-round pick on Pollard, but you got to be fluid. You got to adjust and go with who's going to win you this week.
I got to say, for me personally, all of the Titans are on probation. Yeah, and until they earn their way back off of probation. It's like I understand injuries are a thing. I'll give you a little bit of grace. He's on double secret probation. I'll give you a little bit of grace with Ayomanor. Everybody else it's a hard pass, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, there's no upside in that offense, but at the end of the day, Tony Pollard's getting like a 95% opportunity share. So You have to play him over Darius Slayton or Michael Carter. And Chuba Hubbard's a slam dunk. So yeah.
I'll go back to what Memphis, you say a lot of shows, right? Is like, what's your matchup? Where are you projected? Do you need the upside of Darius Slayton, or should you be happy with the floor that a starting running back like Pollard's going to give you, right? So that's another way you can look at this, because I fully agree with what Evan's saying.
All right, we got a big one here from Austin. Can I get some advice? Staring down a trade, Javonte Williams, I'm assuming Travis Etienne, and Xavier Legette, and the other side is A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, and Isaiah Pacheco. 12-team, 1 QB, half PPR. Thoughts on the A.J. Brown wide receiver ranking the rest of the season? Evan, I'm going to give you this one first. This one's a mouthful.
Yeah, are we assuming this is a redraft league probably?
I'm going to assume redraft given the content of the show, unless they state otherwise.
Yeah. So Legette is a complete zero. Jeudy, Pacheco, those guys I'm never throwing in my lineup.
Right.
So it's really just Javonte and Etienne for AJ Brown. I would be okay taking the Javonte Etienne side, actually. I think Javonte is basically a running back one rest of season, even if it's a back end RB1. Etienne is a back end RB2 rest of season. And AJ Brown is, yes, top 20. I don't think he has an elite seasonal ceiling. He certainly has an elite weekly ceiling. And if you need to take that upside swing, if you're 1-3 or something, I understand going the AJ Brown route. I lean towards the Javonte side.
I'm going to say the exact same thing because I think no one's getting more disrespect right now than Travis Etienne. We wanted Tank Bigsby to be a thing. Now we want Bashal Tootin to be a thing. All Etienne has done has been the RB 11 on the season and has given you double-digit PPR points each and every week. I'm going to make this trade, and if I need to get a wide receiver, then I'm going to take Javonte while he's got the hot hand in Dallas. And I like what Javonte has done in Dallas. This is what we thought Javonte could have been his entire career. He's just had the bad fortune of injuries. But you could always trade a guy like Javonte Williams and wind up with a guy like Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver. And then you have a starting caliber running back and a starting caliber wide receiver that are putting up points. And AJ Brown, I think AJ Brown has a good week this week because he did the boo-boo face on social media again. And when he does that, he did this last year. He gets fed that very next game. It's going to happen, but they're not going to go to him consistently. I will easily take the Williams and Etienne side. Johnny, what about
Austin? Did just say dynasty. So how does that change?
I would need to see like his wide receiver room if he really needs a wide receiver. Sure. At some point, I don't know how Howie Roseman does it. Credit to him. He's an analytics guy. He's a data guy. He's maybe the best GM in the league. At some point, he's going to need some cap relief. And I could just see this team sitting around a boardroom table and saying, hey, AJ's not happy here. AJ makes a bunch of money. Hey, let's send AJ to the Patriots, reunite him with Mike Vrabel, who loves him. So that's what I would need to know for AJ Brown to be AJ Brown again. But if you get the AJ Brown side, you are getting the best player in the deal. But I will, one last thing before I throw it to Johnny. In 1 QB leagues, it's so much easier to find wide receiver help. And really, it's hard to have an elite running back room. So I don't mind if you want to keep Javonte and Etienne, but Johnny, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, I love what you just said there, dude. Like running backs to me are the most valuable position when you've got one who's on and turning, right? And so I think there's a couple things that you need to think about with this question, Austin. Like, are you a contender? If you're rebuilding, go get AJ Brown. Pretty simple. If you're contending, and I read that through a redraft lens, like you're giving up Etienne and Javonte Williams to get AJ Brown rest of season. Like there's just no way I'm doing that, right? Like Etienne is a good player. Javonte Williams is a piece that you're going to be starting every week. I'd push back on you a little bit, Memphis. This week he's up against Denver, and he's going to have Patrick Surtain all over him. This is a guy who's put up 1.8 points, 7.7, 22.9, and then 2.7 in his first 4 weeks, AJ Brown. 3 absolute bust games, 1 boom game. That's a guy we like in like best ball, right? But this is just 2 hit or miss for me. If I'm contending, I'm not looking to add someone like AJ Brown to make a push for a championship this year. The Eagles have a very run-heavy offense. They love doing the tush push whenever it applies. Like they just love grounding and pounding it, and it works for them. And they won a Super Bowl off of this. Like AJ Brown can argue till the cows come home and complain about it, but they're winning football games. It's not broken. They're not going to fix it. So I think I gave about all the advice I could there, right? If you're contending, you probably keep the side you have. If you're rebuilding or think you're not going to contend, you try and get AJ Brown, but don't go for say a Pacheco. Maybe see if he can throw in another piece there. I like Jeudy maybe as a dynasty player, like long term, because he's in a rut right now. But if we've learned anything, like guys like Javonte Williams, like you can't give up on someone forever in dynasty because they're having a bad 5-game stretch, right? Like, so those are my thoughts, but it's a really good trade, like to walk and talk through. So appreciate him putting it out there in the chat.
And there is no position in the NFL that I would expect more than the wide receiver position to come out and complain when your team has won 20 of its last 21 games, including a Super Bowl. Only the wide receiver position, the guy who needs all 10 other jobs to do all other 10 guys on the team to do their job so you can be successful. 0% shocked. All right, we got a guy with a great name, Randy Schmidt. And I think he's asking, is Waller a must start moving forward? I mean, if you're chasing touchdown upside, we saw the touchdown upside last year with Jonnu Smith. Heck yeah. I mean, unless you got Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, a handful of those top 4 or 5 guys. But I will say, if you're in PPR, I'm going to lump in Jake Ferguson and Hunter Henry in there too, Tucker Kraft. If you don't have one of that handful, a half dozen really good tight ends, I have no problem with Darren Waller the rest of the year. You're just hoping to get 75% of what Jonnu did last year, Evan.
Not a must start. He falls into the giant tight end 6 to tight end 25 tier where you just start the guys who are in a good matchup. Yeah, I don't think we need to cover this too deeply, honestly.
Agreed. I will give one point on Darren Waller that I tweeted about. Go listen to that song Top Play. Like, I refused to listen to it because he wasn't playing football. I'm like, this guy's a rapper now. I don't want to hear it. Catches a touchdown. I listened to it. I'm like, wait, this is actually pretty good. He wrote it himself. Like, the dude is a unique breed. Like, he could rap. He could play football. He could retire. He can come back.
I could not disagree more. I absolutely hate this take with all my being.
He's a triple threat superstar. All right, we have a super chat. You always got to take care of the super chats. Peter Terranova, Pete, we see you. He wants to know, will the Broncos cover the 3.5 this week against the Eagles, and is AJ Brown startable? I'm going to go with the cover. I'm taking the Broncos in the 3.5. You can't win every game all the time. And here's a fun fact about Sean Payton. And this goes with all of the Broncos, Bo Nix, RJ Harvey, whoever. Sean Payton, and I said this the other day, in his illustrious career, in the month of September, his record is 30-30. His record this year in September, 2-2. And then things start getting really good. I don't know why it is that way, but we have a big sample of his career that way. I think the Broncos are good. I think the Broncos have the defense to really give Philadelphia trouble. And I would like it better at home. Give me the Broncos plus the 3.5. And I'm going to throw this one to Jonny because the Broncos are his team. And you already answered the AJ Brown question.
Yeah, Pete's my guy. Shout out Pete. Him and I are like the Broncos fans here, player profiler. And so he knows like there's a bit of bias here, and it's a bit of like jaded bias, right? Like, somebody asked me if the Broncos were going to cover against the Bengals last week. I was like, it's too rich for me, right? Like, just because when you're a fan of these teams and they struggle, you don't want to get too high at the idea that they're going to compete really well, right? Like, so that's kind of still where I'm living with this. I'm like, I don't know if they can cover that. It's a little risky rich for my blood. I worry about our linebackers being that spy for Hurts. I think Hurts could exploit us with his legs, and that's what I fear a little bit, as well as like Saquon just running all over us. I'm not starting AJ Brown, so it's a double no from me, dog. I don't know if they'll cover, and I'm not starting AJ Brown this week. And Pete, you're my guy.
Evan?
On AJ Brown, depends on your options. I have a hard time sitting AJ Brown for somebody like, I don't know, if you're trying to start Malik Washington over him, or
can't do that, right? Yeah.
Or Jerry Jeudy or anybody like that, I wouldn't do it. I mean, he's still like a top 24 option this week. Eagles are probably just going to win. I don't know if the Broncos cover or not. I would lean towards no.
I'm telling you, watch that. Real quick, we'll answer one more before we get out of here. I do want to throw this one up here. It's from a Megan Tuma. I don't know any relation.
Don't know who that is.
And she said that Darren Waller
That's your
song
burner account.
she said that song is legit. One more, some initials here. RGQ, not to be confused with our buddy Ray GQ. Maybe it's Ray. I don't know. He could be his burner. Is Trey Benson droppable? Sad I spent 30% fab on him. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, if your league has an IR spot, I mean, it's a 4-week. He's on the 4-week IR. You know, I get that if you got to make some moves because you're in a spot, but I mean, a guy that's going to be the starter the minute he comes back, it's hard to put him on the wire. At least that's how I see it. Evan?
I agree. If you don't have an IR spot for him, I would say he is droppable, but I wouldn't want to drop him. Only do it if you have to.
Yeah, don't drop him, in my opinion. Like, just because no James Conner, this is a second-round pick. Like, when he gets healthy, you really think Michael Carter and Yamari DeMarcado are going to keep him from having a really heavy workload, right? So sometimes you just got to hang in there. You know, unless it's an extremely shallow bench, like I just can't. I don't know why I would do it, you know?
All right, I'm going to hit you guys with a surprise that you probably didn't see coming, but this came from our Dynasty Warzone Patreon chat, and we're talking about the play of Garrett Wilson. So would you guys rather have a Garrett Wilson? This is tight end premium. Would you guys rather have a Garrett Wilson and say Tyler Warren, or Garrett Wilson and Brock Bowers? Or would you rather have Jamar Chase and like a Dallas Goedert? Would you rather have that elite top of the food chain tight end and a really high functioning wide receiver? Or would you rather have that top of the food chain wide receiver and a functional tight end? I will start with the other Dynasty guy, Evan Ringler.
Well, to me, in Dynasty, I like winning, and I mean that might be a hot take, but I like winning in my Dynasty leagues. I'll take the receiver that I like more rest of season, and the tight end that I like more rest of season. So Garrett Wilson and Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers, whatever. I get it. I still have Jamar Chase ranked higher in Dynasty, but that difference between a Goddard type and the elite tight end is also giant.
It's huge, right? That being said, I'm a huge Jamar Chase fan. Like, that's my favorite player. And I think it's always fun when you go and get your guys, right? So if Jamar Chase is your favorite guy and you're not contending, do it. You know what I mean? Or at least look into it. You know, but it's so tough because it's like, in that, you really are getting two solid guys you're going to put in your lineup versus like one guy. Like, Goddard is not, you know, a long-term solution at tight end like those other guys are. But I do just think Jamar Chase with a healthy Joe Burrow is such a difference maker. That's off the table for this year, right? And honestly, if you've got Jamar Chase, you're probably already in a pretty bad way where you might be looking at a 1-3, you know what I mean? Not a great record. So I would definitely massage that trade a little more, see if you can get something better in return than Dallas Goedert, maybe an additional first-round pick or something like that. But if you told me you could get Jamar Chase and a first for two players, like, if I told you could do that before the season, you would tell me I'm smoking crack, right? So that's kind of where my head goes with this, is like, buy low is always a thing, right? You want to think about buying these Jamar Chases when they're at a discount, because we all know it's going to come back around where this guy has the best, you know, relationship with his quarterback in the game in 2026. And he's going to be an easy top 5 pick again in 2026. So I'm looking long-term on that. If you're contending, to Evan's point, I like winning. I like keeping what you have and those studs at both positions. But if I'm looking at rebuilding, I always like adding a guy like Jamar Chase to my stable.
I just thought it was a fun question that came up in our group chat, and I was like, hey, I get it. And Garrett Wilson, you know, all the people that were so concerned about Garrett Wilson having Justin Fields, guy's on pace to have a career year. He's averaging 19 PPR points a game. He's like wide receiver 5 right now. You have to love it. And I love doing this show, and I love the chat. The chat is on fire.
It's a little contentious in there right now.
It is, man.
More than a little.
They are rumbling and stumbling. This is why you listen to this show. Like, if you're listening on Saturday when the podcast version comes out, thank you. Evan, Jonny, and I really appreciate you listening. But, dude, you got to turn notifications on Player Profiler, because the chat got hot late. Like, it started off slow, and I was like, shit, we're not getting a lot of questions. And then all of a sudden, it just took off. It was just like someone poured gasoline on a fire, and it's been great. But, guys, I love doing the show. And I just want to make sure that as we start getting deeper in the season, don't feel like, hey, my seasonal team's not doing as well. I don't need to tune in. You do, because Evan's a dynasty guy. Jonny is a dynasty guy, and I'm a dynasty guy. We'll start doing that pivot somewhere around Thanksgiving where we'll still help you with your start-sit questions. Of course, that's the whole premise of the show. But we can really start getting into some of that, hey, we're at my dynasty trade deadline, my dynasty league trade deadline, and I'd like to get your guys' input. It's not just a seasonal show. We just are here to talk fantasy football, to give you a great Friday live stream. And Evan, any last things before we get out of here?
No, not really. Just playerprofiler.com, fast draft. Go play in the Quick Six Super Slam and Flex Six Frenzy this week. Overlay.
Well, we hope not. We hope not for the fantasy draft, for the fast draft people, because that overlay comes from somewhere.
Not actual overlay, but basically overlay, because everyone's playing these injured players. Go draft the Flex Six Frenzy. Don't pick an injured player, and you have a positive expected value.
Jonny?
Love doing this show with you guys. Love the fans who come in this chat. Like, just make sure you're following Evan, Memphis, and I on X. I'm at Fantasy Picasso. You got Evan Ringler FF, I believe, and DWZ Memphis. Like, these guys have great pages. I like to say I try and put some insightful stuff out on there. So I really enjoy seeing some of these regular viewers come in, and I just want to make sure you guys are following me. I'll definitely follow you all back. Thank you guys for watching, and comment on this page even after the show. Give us a comment on any questions you have. I do go and check to see if people comment on after the show, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay.
100%. And yeah, that's the fun. Get in here early, subscribe, Player Profiler on YouTube, turn notifications on Fridays at 3:30. Come hang out with us. But until next time, thanks for tuning in. Good luck in week number 5.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.